Hey there, in this video I'm going to be showing off my build for the Caustacyst. Now from my quick, searching through different builds, that have been made for the Caustacyst, I've seen that most of them say that the main kick and the main damage dealing part of this weapon is the added the little extra niche kind of little damage thing, which is it's all charging, which when it chucks a little spinning blade through the air and also leaves a little pathway through it. Now they say that the actual pathway, the little splodges of stuff, wherever it is called on the ground, isn't the actual damage dealer. It's the actual little disc thing that when it hits the enemies. And from what I've seen from my playing, I don't really see that. I'll show you, give an example right now, but I find that the damage, the little like discharge rate disc thing, its damage is very minute and pretty much is meaningless, as you can see that with against the arrowed heavy gunner. It pretty much does nothing, and I find a lot more value in actually just not using the normal melee as after right now, but I find more value in like using that over the little charge thing. And I don't know why this could be. There's a couple of reasons in my head. Maybe it's because it's a beginner's build, so maybe it's just not going to be as potent as when with maybe because we don't have any as many mods as high level players do. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe the mods we don't have allow the charge rate to be as potent. Or maybe it's just the weapon has been nerfed and changed so much that the actual disc is now pretty much useless. Again, as I've seen, because from what I saw, these videos were from like a year ago, a year and a half ago, and from what I see from them playing in it, one, the stats are different. The basic attack speed is is on this weapon is now a lot faster, and a lot of things, a lot of the small things have changed, and that might be the reasoning. But all I know is that right now the charge the little charge disc thing, I was gonna call it little disking, is pretty much useless, and there's no real point in talking about it at all. And my builds mainly I've been had to focus on the actual this normal melee part, and the disc pretty much does nothing in from what I've seen. So for this build specifically, I won't be really talking about that. I was just gonna say it in the first part of the video. But yeah, I also have two builds. I'll be showing off this one, my normal status build, now because this is a beginner's build, and this build is kind of simple, except for a pressure point. I mean prime pressure point, but again you can just switch it out with normal pressure point, and that shouldn't really change that much. Especially with my pressure point, as it's only a level, what was it, level 8 or something. Again, you can switch it out. Again, damages don't really go down that much, but I kind of like the prime pressure point being on, so I'll just put it on anyway. Everything else is pretty easy to get. Drifting contact might be a little harder to get, mainly because you have to go to lure to actually gain it, I'm pretty sure. So that one might be a little difficult to gain, but all the other ones are pretty easy to get. Weeping Wounds is probably the other one. I don't really know how I got this. It kind of disappeared in my inventory, so I don't know how you're supposed to get that one, but it's also a pretty good one, and I think it's relatively easy. And yeah, most of these are pretty easy mods, while compared to my other build, which is mainly focused on upgrading the crit. That's yeah, this one's a little more harder, again using Berserk, Drifting Contact, Blood Rush. It's a more complicated build, a little more advanced. So for this one specifically, I'll be talking about oh yeah, for this one specifically, I will be talking about my corrosive build, the status build, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about for this video. And I'll do another video on that build specifically. But if you want to have a look at it, there you go. That's a have another look. And yeah, but we're going to be talking about this one specifically. I'll switch over here and show what I've actually increased. So I've increased the attack speed to about 1.30 with Fury. Again, the main reasoning for that is because I like fast weapons. I like I just like fast weapons. I think it's very good. Again, it seems like a lot better because you can put more hits in enemies in a faster, really a lot more faster, and that means that you're gonna be killing enemies faster because you're putting more hits into them at a faster speed, at a faster rate. So that means they're gonna be taking more damage at a faster rate, so they're gonna be dying at a faster rate. So again, that's why I've also increased with Fury. Fury. But most of the time I would normally add Berserker onto it as well, as because it's pretty much a lot more effective when compared to Fury, because it pretty much adds 3 extra Furies on it's pretty much 3 extra Furies, and the only thing that stops it from just being this extremely fast weapon is that it's a proc weapon, and you have to get like critical hits 3 times, and it only lasts like I don't know 24 seconds. And for this build specifically, it's not good. It doesn't really have the best critical chance, and this build is also aimed towards more status kind of damages and status procs, and it's not really aimed towards critical chance, critical multipliers. So there was no real point of adding Berserker on, because it would be much more worth it putting on like Reach or Fever Strike, Shocking Touch. It would be a lot more valuable to put those on. So that's why I've only got Fury on. Let's go back to here and configure air. I've haven't touched channeling, haven't touched critical chance, critical multiplier, damage block either. The other things I have touched are the leaping attacks, spinning attacks, status, and wall attacks. Mainly again, leap attacks and wall attacks pretty much useless. They never really come up ever. Leap attacks come up like occasionally, but that's only really at the start of a fight, of an engagement, where you just leap into them and then attack them. That's the only time really. But actually, maybe a little more when you depending on the stance. But from what I've seen, the stance doesn't really use leaping that much at all. It's more heavily based in spinning attacks, so it would be a lot more valuable to focus on the spinning attacks. But again, they all go up as one. So because as you can see, the spinning attack is pretty much exactly the same with leap attack. They're all the same, so it doesn't really matter. It's just good that we've increased his spinning attack. I think it's been increased with prime pressure point, fever strike, anything that increases like any type of damage will increase these as well. We'll also increase status. I think that's with drifting contact, which adds its a little more value. But the status chance being increased doesn't really matter at all, because we're weeping wounds, which increases your status chance with every single combo multiplier that increases. And so again, that status increase doesn't really matter. It's kind of useful when we are talking about the increase in when we're talking about the initial attacking. But again, for this build specifically, you get to that point that you get to that increased status where weeping wounds come into play very quickly. It's a very quick charge up to that to your pretty much your maximum damage for most engagements, and there's no real point of thinking about the status chance. It's kind of this extra add-on. We've also increased the corrosive damage, which is the main stick of this weapon, is the corrosive on it. We've increased it with Fever Strike, shocking Touch, and also Prime Pressure Point, as it doubles it with damage. As you can see, when we take it off, it takes away quite a lot. Right, just there it is. So yeah, we've increased the corrosive again. It's a very important part of this build. Is the corrosive, as that we want it for its proc, we want it for its damage. Pretty much, corrosive is just the main meat of this build, the main meat of this weapon, pretty much. So it's very good to increase it, even with this build. We've still increased it from the initial to 170. If you go back to config C, as you can see, we've increased it from 75. We've pretty much more than tripled it. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. But we've added quite a lot with even with just config B build. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna show off the actual build, but I think I've already showed it off. This one specifically. Again, when compared to my second build, the crit build, this build won't do as much damage as compared to the crit build. But the positive for this build is that you get to its maximum damage extremely quickly. While when compared to the crit build, it's a very slow, gradual increase to its maximum damage. While this one pretty much gets straight into it straight away. And that's the one positive of this weapon. If you want a very fast weapon where you don't really want to focus on getting those combos and getting any of that kind of stuff, you can just put this build on and go in and you'll be doing good damage. But you won't be doing as much damage when compared to the crit build, which I will quickly show you right now. Pop another 5 down. Okay, we'll go over here. Again, you can see you're not really doing much, but then you just build up pretty quickly. And again, sometimes it's pretty quick, sometimes it's pretty slow. It just kind of depends on your luck at the time. But sometimes you can just utterly melt enemies. It also depends on how long you've been damaging that enemy, because again, once you initially start, you're not really doing that much, and then you start gaining even more damage. Even though you've been in I've already killed several enemies, yet at the start I'm still going pretty slow. But again, when compared to the first enemy and me initially starting it, that was extremely slow. And then once I get to my last enemy, it's still slow at the start, but a lot quicker when compared to the first enemy. So it's kind of just a gradual increase of damage when compared to your to the first build I showed you, the corrosive build, the status build. But again, this is a good build. I can, if you're a low level player and you do have these mods, I'd recommend putting this one on. It's a very good one. Again, you don't really need prime pressure point, just switch out normal pressure point, and it's just, in my opinion, it's a very good build for beginners. I quite like it, but saying that, the crit build is far superior, as you just saw. Again, that positive as saying you get to that your maximum damage extremely quickly. In my opinion, doesn't really matter. I would much prefer just doing straight up damage, just straight into it. I quite like that. But if you don't really have Berserker or Blood Rush or any of these more complicated mods, more hard to gain mods, I would recommend this build. This build's still really good. I'd recommend it. But I'll do a video for this build after maybe tomorrow or something. But yeah, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please leave a like. Dislike the video, please leave a dislike. If you didn't like the video, if you hated it, leave a reasoning in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching.